children should be taught sex education and about their bodies, and it should start at home and then be reinforced in other areas. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. This commenter says the only advice I was ever given about my body, sex, or sexual orientation was don't get pregnant. Meanwhile, I always like women. So, yeah, I hate this amongst the Black culture. No teaching Black girls about their body so that they can make good choices in life. A lot of teen pregnancy could be eliminated, but just letting them know about their body. By just letting them know about their body, I agree with you. I think. It's very much the same when I was growing up. Like, don't have sex. You don't even need to be, or it's more like, you don't need to think about boys, sex, or dating, or any of that kind of stuff. You don't need to like anybody. The only thing you need to like is your school books. So get in those books and like that, and so it was redirected and made to feel bad for wanting to go out with friends. You don't need friends. You need school. Um, you don't need to be going out. Stop being so fast. Stop being so grown and trying to, just normal, wanting to do normal, pure things. And also just asking questions. Like, you don't need to ask that. So questions are easily dismissed, or you're screamed at, yelled at, and called all sorts of names for wanting to know things, uh, for, having feelings, having curiosity, even wanting to kiss somebody. You're looked at as like a slut or a whore. That's a big thing. It's like parents have an overt reaction, and it wasn't just having a reaction towards you, but being taught about things in general. I remember, and I don't know what's happening in schools now, but I remember like when health class used to teach sex education. It used to teach you about your body and about having a period and about, like, just sex education and how things work as it relates to sex, and parents not liking that. And that was, woo, you would have thought, we were going to war. People just were so against their children being taught that information. But you have kids that are getting pregnant in school. You have kids that are actually sexually active and don't have a problem talking about it. But you have these things that are going on, but parents are like, no, not my child. I don't want my child to listen to that talk. It's demonic. And I don't think they're old enough to know about that yet. But there were so many things that would happen. I mean, and not just that. It's not just about sex and because the common school of thought, or at least from what I remember during it, if you teach my child will want to do it. But the other thing is, like, there could be a preventative measure against sexual abuse. So being taught about, like, consent and boundaries and what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. It could help children learn that. But I think the other thing that was a big thing too, that kids didn't know about their body, was hygiene. There were a lot of kids that did not know about hygiene, that didn't smell very good, that didn't wash. I think there's probably a lot of neglect going on at home, looking back on it. I mean, there were some kids that were bullied to death over not having hygiene. So some of that also could have been, you know, teaching children how to wash and properly groom themselves, or even exploring why they're not able to. Do you have running water, food at home? Do you have the ability to wash clothes? What's going on at home? So I think the other thing is it can open the door for children to feel safe and comfortable about abuse and neglect or other things that are going on in their own home. Maybe they've already had sex already, and a lot of them have. But maybe they're having sex with a brother or with a father or something like that. And having that discussion, that education, both at home and at school, could help children feel safe enough to come forward about what's going on. I also think, just from recall from my experience, general speaking, generally speaking, there can be exceptions. Girls are usually taught you don't even need to think about that. You're not having sex, this and that. Where boys are kind of thrown a condom. Go be a boy or go do you. Just don't get nobody pregnant. And so they're given a pass to go and explore their curiosity. Um, they may have some sexual oppression as it relates to fathers. And I've spoken about that, how fathers get aggressive with boys, and get mean and nasty towards them because they view them as competition. If you want me to do another video on that, I will. Um, but yeah, that it helps children to know how to know about their bodies, know about other people's bodies, also know about having a period is also something, just understanding what it means to have a period and how to address having a period, so how to properly insert a tampon or a cup or wear a pad or, birth control and how that may affect you. All of these sort of things that can be taught in the school curriculum. And I honestly think it should be just like home economics and things like that, um, because it would save a lot of problems or it could address a lot of problems and what happens. But, there were a lot of things that went unaddressed. And surprise, you have peers that are now showing up pregnant. You have peers that are having sex and things like that. But, I don't know. I digress. But thank you so much for bringing this up. There is a, a double standard or just sort of a willful, like blatant, like, I don't want my child being taught that because they'll have sex. But a lot of kids are already having sex already. And so your child has to learn that information from somewhere. Wouldn't you rather that information come from you? As opposed to saying that my child will never do this. Children see things, they hear things, they see things, they experience things. There's peer pressure. There's a lot of girls experience their first sexual assault in school. There's many Lifetime movies made about this, but sexual assault happens in school because a little girl is first told at home um, that she should not have any control over her body, and that she shouldn't even be thinking about that, and that she's this or she's that for thinking about those things or asking questions about that. Meanwhile, she could be getting assaulted at school, and she can't come home and talk about it because her parents are not safe people, and they've told her that there's something wrong with her, for even wanting to open that door. So let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, share, and follow. And thanks so much for this.